I thought today I'd start by just talking about where Tilburg is located in the Netherlands. And we'll take a macro perspective first and dial in from there. So the Netherlands in general is squarely in Western Europe. And you can see on my pin here that Tilburg is in the south central part of the Netherlands. Dialing down a little bit further, you see that Tilburg University is located just east of Rotterdam and The Hague and just south of Amsterdam. And just about 30 minutes northeast of Antwerp in Belgium. One of the neat things about the Netherlands is that it is very tightly interconnected by bike trails. And so what you're looking at here is a map of this area of the Netherlands and all of the biking trails that interconnect all of the cities, and then of course map on to all of the major cities as well. Dialing in a little bit further, you see here's Tilburg, and Tilburg University is located just kind of in the center of town, next to a very expansive green space, which is one of the nice features of this campus, is that it's an urban campus, but also located next to substantial amounts of green space. And Tilburg proper is also interconnected by a number of dedicated bike trails. So it's very navigatable and easy to get around. It's a very nice college town. In fact, 1 in 7 students, and 1 of 7 people in Tilburg is actually a student. So it's very much a college town. Specifically, by train, Tilburg is about 1.5 hours south of Amsterdam. It's 1.5, almost 2 hours, just short of 2 hours, just outside of Brussels. It's 3.5 hours north of Paris and just 7 hours west of Berlin. Specifically, Tilburg has just shy of 20,000 students, but only 10,000 of those are undergraduates. So in terms of the undergraduate experience, Tilburg is very similar to UM in size. For exchange purposes, Tilburg has 23 different majors that are entirely taught in English. And in fact, most of the Netherlands is English speaking. Even though Dutch is the official language, almost everybody speaks English in the Netherlands. On campus, there are 5 separate schools that include these 23 different majors. And those are economics and management, law, social and behavioral sciences, humanities and digital sciences. And because Tilburg is historically a Catholic university, they have a dedicated program in Catholic theology. So you can think of Tilburg as being a liberal arts kind of college as we understand it in the United States. But it is very well known in all 5 of these programs throughout Europe. Specifically, you can see here that these are the 23 majors that are part of Tilburg's program for exchange students. So regardless of your major on UM's campus, you would probably be able to find equivalent courses at Tilburg that would easily transfer over into your major. I, for example, am a communication studies professor, and my home department on Tilburg would be communication and information sciences. And they offer courses, for example, in nonverbal communication, in research methods, interpersonal communication. They also offer courses in media, various sorts, social media, and larger kinds of media issues. But again, very diverse array of different offerings, and very easy to find courses taught in English that would transfer over readily to UM. One of the nice things about Tilburg is that it's inexpensive to live relative to other major cities in the Netherlands. So Tilburg is the 7th largest city in the Netherlands. So it has a population of about 250,000 people. So it's still a major city, but it's relatively inexpensive. So the budget that I found on the Tilburg website is that off-campus housing is roughly around $400 to $500 per room, and that's furnished. Tilburg does not offer on-campus housing per se in the same way that does, but they collaborate with housing providers that are just on the border of the campus that are exclusively for student living. And a furnished room in those housing units is relatively inexpensive. They say to anticipate about $350 a month in food. So you're looking at about $750 to $850 a month in your basic expenses. But because we have a formal collaboration with Tilburg, you would be able to study there by paying tuition. So your tuition fees would not change. The only thing that would be different is that you would have different kinds of housing and food expenses if you were to go study there for a semester or a year. Of course, there are additional expenses. It is possible to upgrade living standards there. You have books, you have travel, because it is so close to all the major cities in Western Europe. You probably want to do a fair amount of traveling. And because the Netherlands is so bikeable, you would probably have some recreation expenses as well, including perhaps, for example, a used bike and a lock, which they say you can anticipate about $150 for that kind of expense. But not too bad, actually, in the grand scheme of things. If you think about spending an entire semester abroad, you might think about budgeting maybe $5,000 to $6,000 for the entire experience, and which is really not too bad. So why go? One of the things that's important to know is that Tilburg is a small campus, but it's internationally renowned across a wide variety of its programs. And in general, Tilburg is known to be one of among the top 2% of the world's 17,000 universities. There is a substantial international student population. In fact, 3,000 of the 10,000 undergraduates are international students taking English-speaking courses. So studying there means that you would be on a small campus, but have a very global, international kind of experience while you're there. Again, the programs in business and economics and social science are internationally renowned. I know personally, for example, that the faculty in communication studies there and in psychology are among the most productive researchers that we have in the entire world. So these are very good programs, and you would have a very strong scholarly kind of experience going there. It's also worth noting that Dutch people quantitatively have one of the highest levels of well-being in the entire world. They are, according to the World Happiness Report, number 5 across the world in terms of how happy their population is. There are a number of different reasons and explanations for that, but suffice it to say that you could count on this being a pleasant experience interacting with Dutch people and living in the Netherlands. Of course, there's food and drink that is important. So Gouda cheese, actually a town of Gouda, which is about an hour outside of Tilburg. Gouda is also known not just for cheese, but also that's where stroop waffles were invented. One of the major stroop waffle factories is in Gouda right now. It's also the home of Heineken beer, but beer in Western Europe is known to be outstanding. The art, of course, is incredible. So the Netherlands is, of course, known for Van Gogh, Vermeer, de Kooning, Peter Plage, MC Escher. And so the museum experience is, of course, extremely high quality. Cycling, we already talked about. In fact, some of those dedicated trails that you saw on an earlier map are also dedicated artist trails. And so, for example, you can ride your bike on the Van Gogh trail and go to a number of places in the Netherlands where Van Gogh did paintings and where he lived and grew up. And the same is true for Vermeer and Plage, Peter Plage as well. And of course, if you go in the spring, the Netherlands is known for its tulip fields. So a burst of color in an otherwise cold time. Yep, so how does it work if you're interested in going? What you would do is you would make it known to Tilburg by May 1st of the fall. If you plan to go in the fall, then the spring before you would alert Tilburg to this fact by May 1st. And if you want to go for the whole year, same deal. If you want to go in the spring, however, your deadline for letting them know would be October 1st. The academic calendar is almost identical to the way it is in UM. So fall courses at Tilburg begin in late August and have final exams in December. Because of the way the academic system runs in the Netherlands, there is what's called a second sitting for final exams. So if you don't do well on your first final exams, you are allowed to retake them later in January. But otherwise, final exams end in December, just like they do here. So, also, spring courses begin in late January or sometimes early February. And then finals are just as they are here, are in May or in early June. Again, there's a second sitting of final exams in June. One thing that Tilburg would like you to know, however, is that the campus gets extremely busy for fall enrollment, especially for exchange students. And so housing is known to be relatively challenging to obtain in the fall, but it's much easier to obtain in the spring. So one strategy might be to consider either doing a springtime semester experience or just getting an early start on everything if you plan on going for the fall or the full year. So if you have further questions, you're interested in learning more, I have here the website address for Tilburg University. You are welcome to contact me, of course, with any questions, and certainly the Office of Global Engagement can also be of assistance if you have further questions or are interested in traveling. All right. Thank you very much, and I hope to perhaps see you in Tilburg in spring of 23. My hope is to be there teaching during that semester, and it would be lovely to also have a cadre of UM students as well. So thank you very much.